Stand and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to call the meeting to order. Motion to approve the agenda as presented with the following modifications. Action items G and H to accept 2 resignations.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Larry. And with the second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public communications. Do we have any public communications today?
We do have one introduction. Annette Duran is one of our new paras. She comes to us actually from the state of California. So she's serving as a special ed para for us in the high school, mostly in the high school.
Right now, yes, mostly in high school.
So we welcome you.
Thank you.
And I do have another one that was going to show up, so he may be popping in here shortly. So
Sounds good.
Somebody arrived.
Thank you, Annette. Look forward to working with you, and as always, like we tell everybody, if you ever have a question, all 5 of us are pretty easy to find, and hope you enjoy it here.
Thank you.
You're not required to stay, but you're welcome
Yeah.
if you like.
You know, I was going to watch it from home, and then since Mary Jane had FCCLA, I figured I'd just come right over instead of trying to make it home.
All right. Any other public communications? If not, conflicts disclosure. Motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting, August 8th. Thank you, Marty. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the financial statements.
So moved.
Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion?
You're in financial statements?
Yep. Looks good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Discussion?
One little question just to clarify. On the busing for the CTE, I noticed you had all July, or no, all August, all September, the same amount?
But that's just how he bills it, even like with our adults, his first bill is in August. It's split up correctly, but he just starts billing in August, and he didn't bill us that in August, so.
So it'd be like the same every month?
Yes, it's the same every month,
Regardless of
yes.
how many trips he makes? I thought it was less, that's why I was asking, and I thought, well,
But it's a contract just broken up over the pay period.
yeah, I thought we
Yeah.
were paying more before, but then I saw we were paying the same for August as we were for September.
No, the only time we've paid more is, that's the amount we've paid every month, but I think one year we didn't, there was one semester he didn't run because we just had a school vehicle because we only had a couple of students.
Okay. It's not based on per trip.
No, it's just,
We set the miles in the summer or fall, and then that's what it is.
yeah.
Not on
That's what it's
CTE.
been since we started.
Just going up to the CT is what I'm asking about.
Yeah. It's been the same.
Okay.
And the CTE is daily, any day that we have school. So he's probably calculated over 171 school days.
I assume so many
Split it up.
contract days and just broke it up that way. Just the way you had it listed.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else on claims?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Oh,
Okay.
What are the
Let me get into it.
the CTE payments to the different school districts?
That's all Perkins, because we're the Perkins director, so they have to go through us to purchase, and then when I get the federal funding, we reimburse them.
Okay. And then the air conditioning repairs.
Yeah, there's a whole new unit, right?
One of those, yeah, it's a new split unit is what they call them in one of the middle school classrooms. Was it about 6,000 per unit? Probably?
12,000.
12
Yeah.
for the
is the bill.
grand total.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a unit that was not working at all, and so we had to replace it, similar to the 6th grade unit last year. This one was an older unit in comparison to, the 6th grade unit was probably one from 2015 when we got all the air conditioning. The one from it was the middle school computer lab, or no, it was the NCI lab or the PE classroom. That one had been in place for several years. I don't believe it's a new unit.
You have another roof?
It isn't.
We've also had issues in the kitchen, so we'll have a fix coming up there. That will be $2,200 fix also. So that'll be coming up,
yeah, that one's newer though, that's,
Yeah.
right?
Any other questions on claims? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving forward, motion to approve the educational increases for Jessica Doughty, Cheryl McCreary, Jennifer Witt, and Devin Peterson. Thank you, Marty. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Aaron. Discussion?
This is just per the negotiated agreement. If they earn 12 graduate credits, then they get an educational advancement. It's the application.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the contract of Annette Duarte, special ed paraprofessional.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Did I say it? Is it Duarte or Duarte?
Duart.
Duart? Well, then I'm going to get it close the third time. Duart. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the contract of Felicia Meester, junior high volleyball coach.
So moved.
Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve Kelly Nimmer as high school student council advisor.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Third.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve Taya Leonova. Close?
time, Leonova, yes.
Yep. Girls basketball, boys basketball cheerleading advisor.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Larry, discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve Jordan Bauer as assistant boys basketball coach.
Moved.
Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve Alicia Garrett, special ed paraprofessional.
So moved.
Thank you, Marty. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Joel. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve contract amendment for Jenna Sinner, junior high volleyball coach.
So moved.
Thank you, Larry. Scott, second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the tax request as provided within your packet.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Discussion? It's exactly what we budgeted. We've previously had these conversations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve out-of-district busing agreement, Florence.
So moved.
Thank you, Larry. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion?
It's just a quick follow-up with what we do with the current districts that we cross paths with. They go into Wallace, and so he's a newer superintendent, so I informed him of what the law is, and that's sort of a formality, something that's sent in.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve open enrollment applications 2309 to 2314. Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion items. Superintendent report, Dr. Block.
Resignations.
Whoa, nuts and bolts.
That
I have
wasn't
that
on our agenda either.
Yeah, but I did that, I amended it.
We amended the agenda.
Remember that first part of the meeting?
The,
G&H?
what we just did?
Yeah.
Is that- No, it is not.
What?
It is not.
No, I amended it.
No, the open enrollments are not on our agenda.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Where?
Yeah.
F.
A, B, C, D,
F.
E. So,
I got F.
I don't.
You, Aaron?
In
You?
the packet, do you?
I don't.
I don't have it.
You don't have it? You don't have F? Do you, Amanda?
It's on the one that you sent out to me.
I have.
And I sent the same one to
Oh,
them.
yeah, because you're looking at the, no. Go.
Oh, he's looking at the.
Looking at the notes.
For
Looking
your-
at the notes.
My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, see, I was right the whole time here, Chase. Just put that down for the record. All right, back to
He's a-
motion to approve the resignation of Susan Gaikowski, custodian. Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Larry. Discussion.
Lori has already sent that into the Recorder and Farmer, so it'll come out this weekend and we'll get it advertised on our website as soon as possible as well.
How much notice did you give?
Today, 2 weeks,
2 weeks?
No, she's done Friday.
1 week.
They don't, we're at Will State, so they don't have to give 2 weeks, I guess.
No, I guess.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve the resignation of Brittany Lindy, food service. Thank you, Marty. Second? Thank you, Aaron. Discussion?
Ditto with that for advertising.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to superintendent's report, Dr. Block.
I will try to be quick. First thing I have is a thank you from the FCCLA members. It says, Webster School Board, thank you. FCCLA members that attended Nationals in San Diego want to thank you for your generosity in paying for our registration. It helped make our amazing and impactful experience possible. All 5 of us placed in the top 5 in our star events. The National Conference has helped us grow as leaders and FCCLA members. Let me get these names correct. Addison Kicker, Jocelyn Haugen, Jaden Rice, Blaze Larson, and Kelsey Fisher. And so there's a picture of them in the front. The next thing I have is just a quick summary of enrollment, and these are not exact as of today, but this was last week. Student enrollment in the elementary, as of about midweek last week, we had approximately 22 students in and 17 out in K through 8. So it's not a wash, it's a net gain of a few. And in the high school, we had 12 in and approximately 2 to 3 out. So it was an increase in high school. We're actually up to 162 in high school as of today, which is one of the largest high school enrollments we've had in many years. I mean, going back to the early 2000s, they have 162. Because we've been hovering around that 150 in the high school mark. So, yeah, I don't know if you have any questions regarding enrollment.
I missed the first part of the enrollment.
Elementary K through 8, it's 22 students new and 17 that went out or left. And this would be at the end of last school year and the beginning of this year.
What day is the actual count?
Last Friday in September.
Last Friday, September.
And the in and out on the high school end was
12 in, and I actually had 0 out, but I know that was not correct that was probably 0 out from when school started, but I know that we lost a couple students from last May that went elsewhere.
Do we have middle school numbers or?
It was
He
K through
included
8
them.
was all
Oh,
together.
They were
gotcha.
K-8.
Okay.
Yeah, those were, I got a report from Karen, a report from, so it was a K through 8 report. And a 9 through 12 report. The COVID update, the only thing that I need to mention there is I really haven't come forward with any suggestions for a change in our plan. We're following the CDC guidelines of the 5 days masked if you have it. We don't do any contact tracing. Basically what our practice is what our policy is right now. In the plan itself, it's a little bit more specific than what we're actually doing, but it also gives us the disclaimer that we modify it as needed according to what's going on with CDC recommendations. So I just wanted to let you know that I haven't come forward with any suggested changes because the wording allows us to address it as we need to. ESSER 3 funds for our HVAC system, we were approved for that. So that was a nice letter that we got last Friday. That's to the tune of what, $640,000 that goes towards the project. And so that's been approved. School report card, Mr.
You know,
Casey.
Jim, just before you go on,
Oh, sorry.
that's a good deal. I mean, that's smart with planning. I mean, on how we put this together. I mean, taking advantage of those type of programs to make a facility like this for the next 40 to 50 years, you know, I think that shows the district is working hard, not just to spend it on what we saw some districts, to be quite frank, were just looking where they were going to spend the money. I mean, that's a long-term investment that hopefully can pay dividends for the taxpayers for a long time. So thanks to you and Lori for making sure we got that put together right. That's a big deal. $600-some-thousand, it's nothing to sneeze at.
School report card, we have the preliminary results that we can look at as an administration and staff. There are a couple of areas that we're gonna let people know that are issues, and then obviously it'll come out as our report card is made public. I can briefly state that one of them is attendance in the elementary. The state goal is to have 90% attendance or above for a rate, and we did drop to 88% in the elementary, a score of 88. So there's a couple of subgroups that we didn't meet the goal in that particular area, and so we'll have to strategize as to what we can do to improve that attendance. And then we also have
I was saying, Jim, how's that on the school to make sure attendance? I mean, doesn't that start at home? You know, I have 4 kids, go to school. I know their school. I appreciate it that it's the responsibility of the school district to figure out, you know, how to increase attendance, but school's in session. If you're not sending your children to school, that starts at home. Not with Craig Case, not with our 3rd grade teacher, not with any of our custodians or paraprofessionals or anybody that works in this building, with all due respect. Send your kids to school. Tell your kids to be nice. I mean, we have so many times issues that I hear on social media that, well, you know, the school doesn't do anything about it. Start at home. And I'm going to keep emphasizing that enough. I think that other parents need to start saying that other than just us. Because too many of our educators, everybody that works in this building, you're working with 530 plus kids every day with all of their different issues, and that's tough. And I think that as parents and as even members of the community, we need to step up our game to assist it. And so send your kids to school. Real simple.
I agree. I will also add one thing. We did look at the rates and where we were a little bit lower. And there are some that are some carryover COVID issues. There are some that have health issues. Some of it is a combination of health issues and family vacations and things like that, where there's particular students that did drop below the 90%. And so those are all things that by and large can be controlled, and that's what we have to do is put a little bit more focus on it to remind parents that School is something that we're held accountable for, the attendance is something we're held accountable for, so.
So if you fall below, if your child falls below the 90 percentile, what happens? Is there a notice sent out? Walk me through the process.
Well, long before the 90%, Mr. Case and I would be contacting the parents regarding attendance. And if nothing changes and we see that it continues to have issues with attendance, then we contact the state's attorney. Because legally, students are supposed to be in school on a regular basis. Parents can be held accountable for attendance, but it's a rare thing that ever gets that far. So normally, I would say normally when we contact the state's attorney, you see some change, positive change in the attendance. The ones where you don't see the change, unfortunately, even with the state's attorney, there's no juvenile
There's no consequence.
program that really can put any teeth in it. So for some, it is an ongoing thing.
It used to be, I mean, and Mr. Case has been a witness numerous times in the last 20 years I've been back here assisting, and every school district has it. Law enforcement will go for kids that are constantly truant. They'll go to their house and pick them up, and it used to be then they would eventually bring the parents into court if you weren't sending your kids to school. But the new Juvenile Justice Reform Act really just took it.
Do we have somebody from the board appointed as a truancy?
Yeah, we do, but realistically, it's Mr. Case.
It's us. And
Yeah,
just to let you know, Mr. Case, not on a regular basis, but whenever needed, he does make
House
visits.
calls.
He will go get kids.
I'll go get kids.
There have been times with elementary that he's not able to. We will take kids home to get their meds if that's what they need. I mean, we do a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize that we
Right.
do so that kids can be successful during the day.
What is the parent's reason for not having their kids?
you know, Aaron, I can vouch for
Well-
what Mr. Case does and Dr. Block, but when we see them, a lot of times it's not necessarily the kid that's the problem. It's the parent.
Yeah, so what is the parent's reason for not
Just ain't gonna do it.
laziness?
Where the kids
They
don't want to
really
listen to
don't want to
parents.
Or the
So
kid
then they
doesn't want to
listen
listen to the
us.
parent.
Yeah,
They're having problems
them
at
out of
home. Another
they can't parent.
example would be they miss the bus, and there's no way of getting them to school. So it's like, well, I can't bring the kid to school, like, well, I'll come and get him.
But there's situations where the parents go to work, the kids then miss
Right.
the bus,
Yep, they're home
and
alone.
they're stuck home.
Yep, that's another example.
But those aren't the ones you see that chronic as much. I mean, it's the people that are chronic are the ones that, it starts at home. Send your kids to school. Give them a better life than maybe what you hope for them to have.
It'd be nice to stay above that 90-95%, but I don't know if you reviewed the past years, the other schools. 88% isn't bad.
No.
We're doing pretty good.
But
But-
the reality
but when
is,
we-
ours is usually in the mid-90s.
Yes.
We're normal.
I calculated it a few years ago before COVID, and we were, 96, 97.
I mean, this was never a point of
There's a lot of
concern.
districts that are in the 70s.
Yeah, I hope we don't go there.
No, but I'm just saying, I've only ever seen one at 100.
You're gonna have to get a bigger moped if we.
I'd use the school suburban.
Also a couple of things, we did get a couple of subgroups in the elementary, didn't meet the standard in English language arts or in math, and so we're gonna have to kind of focus on those things. The high school scores came in, we met the criteria that we needed to in the high school, and then can you help me with the middle school?
English,
Was that,
English, I'm pretty sure. LA, wasn't
it wasn't attendance in the middle school, I think it was.
it? Pretty sure it was.
Oh, no, well, one thing was an EL student, without identifying a student, we had one EL student in the middle school, and I don't believe that student was here long enough for us to do the assessments and all of the things that we needed to do, and so it showed zero progress with that particular student. So in those cases, there's some justification that we can provide to say that, they were here for maybe a partial semester, and we unfortunately didn't get done what is expected to be done within those weeks that that person is here, so.
Do you recall what the college readiness score, what percentage that was?
At the high school level?
Yeah.
I don't. I just know that, I'll be honest, when I saw that the high school report card, I didn't even have access to the high school report card, it was a setting that we had incorrect. But once I saw that it was, everything was a go, I didn't really focus on that because I'd already reviewed the middle school and the elementary stuff and was kind of looking at what we need to do here.
You know, next month, could you also bring in where are we at with ACT scores? You know, we made that as an emphasis a few years ago. How are we doing on those?
Okay. The next thing I wanted to briefly mention is a fundraiser that we're trying to do, or we would like to do, kind of as an all-inclusive athletic program. I will say this, minus the wrestling program, they were not interested in participating in this, but football, volleyball, cross-country, girls basketball, boys basketball, track, golf, and cheerleading would like to have its own full program fundraiser where they would sell 1,000 tickets at $40 each, raise the $40,000. There'd be about $12,000 paid out in prize money, leaving approximately $28,000 to be distributed amongst the 7 programs. There's some debate as to how that could be distributed, but our AD has some recommendations how he would like to do that. We want to eliminate all of the smaller fundraisers. There's still a desire to do some non-soliciting fundraisers. For instance, if they sell something at a game where you choose to go up to the concession stand or to a table, that's up to you, but they're not going to go up into the crowd and sell it, nor are they going to go to your door, nor are they going to call you. There's still a few fundraisers that are pretty easy fundraisers that they'd like to look at doing. They would like to do this mid-October through mid-December, and any Bearcat athlete that participates in any one of these programs would be kind of encouraged and expected to help participate in this. There are other school districts that have done this. As I understand it, according to the superintendent from Millbank, they run a very similar fundraiser like this through the Booster Club in Millbank. They raised $100,000, and I don't know what they gave out for prize money, but they obviously have a nice pot of money to give back to their athletic programs. Can I think of another school? Was it Redfield?
Well, girls and boys basketball did it last year.
Yeah, we did it with a smaller scale last year with the boys and girls.
But raised good money.
So technically, I'm not looking for approval. I'd just like to know, where are you guys at with something like this? It's something we'd like to move forward with if we can, unless there's some serious concerns with it. We have looked into the legalities of it, anything that we have to have for a permit, different things like that with the state level. As we understand it, it's certainly a legal thing to do, and the permit at the state level is basically just sort of a registration so that they're aware that there's a fundraiser as such in place. And then, I don't know, do you need to state anything regarding the winners and what they have to do for taxes or?
No, if they give away 600, the winners will have to complete a W-9, and if they win $600 or more, they will receive a tax form in the mail from me.
So I don't know, any questions regarding that, or any concerns, or some discussion?
As long as they really take away some of the other nickel-dime fundraisers, I'm okay with it. It's just nonstop.
Yes.
And I guess I'll be honest, when people send stuff to our place of business, if I get it in the mail or a parent drops it off, it goes in the garbage. I just do. So I certainly hope if they're doing this, the kids are the ones out there soliciting it.
I'll throw out, I think that is a big deal, because one of the constant concerns I've heard from parents over the years is the solicitation for every sport, whether, we all know what the different things have been. I think it's a good idea. I do have, so why isn't it just every sport, I mean, it's.
I'll tell you why the wrestlers, I don't know this, but I'm guessing the reason the wrestlers aren't in it, they know how much work it takes to go out and do this. They've got it figured out and they've had success, they're not
They have
gonna give,
established fundraisers.
they're not gonna give up what they're doing. to spread it around. They've put the work in.
We all good with going forward with that?
Go, Aaron, don't you think that's why?
The wrestlers, they increased theirs this year, what they're giving away.
But they know how to do it, and they put the work in and the time in.
Well with it.
Yeah.
One of the unfortunate things that I will just say is I understand they started their fundraising last week, this week or something, and it's very, very similar, and so now we're gonna have the wrestlers competing with the rest of the school for a very, very similar fundraiser. And perhaps there's plenty of money to go around, but it just,
But the wrestlers didn't just start doing what they're doing. I mean,
it's something that
they
has
started
going on.
2 years ago when they gave up the concessions.
So they're looking at raising $28,000 then with it, Jim?
Yes. The only thing he hadn't accounted for was how they're gonna pay for the tickets. Yeah, which I think would be $130.
Good with it, Marty? Because this will be something that our patrons will be talking about the moment these things are being sold. And I mean, I know the football team tried to do something already this year. Did volleyball do something?
Volleyball's not done anything, and they do not plan to sell cookie dough.
Volleyball's always had the most money.
I know. Cookie
Actually
dough is
spent it
actually a good fundraiser, but one of the frustrations that they have with that is that I think that's a perfect example. I think it's a 50-50 or a 40-60 split. They're not getting much of the money, really, when you think about it. And they have had folks who would just say, you know what, I'll give you $20 instead of me buying $3 worth of cookies and giving you a $20. I'll give you the full $20 myself. They've had that in recent years. So that's one example. This does not include our FFA or CCLA. They have their own fundraisers as well. Robotics, different things like that. So there's still going to be, I mean, don't kid yourself, there's still going to be fundraisers.
I think the other thing then is if they are going to do that, I think it's a good idea, just to narrow it down to one fundraiser. But I think we need to be able to tell our patrons because, for example, I've had moms say, don't you guys buy football uniforms? Don't you buy the basketball uniforms? What does the money go for? And so I think it's a good idea to do just one universal fundraiser, but I do believe these students need to be able to articulate something more than, I don't know, coach said I had to sell it. You know, it needs to be something, you know, maybe there needs to be a sheet that goes with it that's up around town, what it can help pay, whether it's for camps or other things, but there needs to be an educational piece to that also. Any other discussion on that?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is there needs to be, the kids need to say what it's for, rather than just reading this out.
And they need to understand.
Yes.
Not just say, but understand, yeah.
Because we buy uniforms, we buy helmets, we buy balls, we pay for coaches. These are for the extras. Well then, what are the extras? And that's where I think we need to do a nice job of educating the citizens. Okay?
The last thing that I have is discussion of the state social studies content standards. I have a document that I just received this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to really look at it in depth, but they had a meeting in Harrisburg last week, and there's one coming up in Aberdeen, I believe it's next week. I do plan to attend it. I sent out the grade level standards. I made copies of them and scanned them and sent them to each of the teachers in each grade level about a week and a half ago, so that they didn't have to visit for the standards. I just gave them to them. They could start looking at them. If you look at Facebook and some other social media, you will find a lot of horror stories about what these standards are, and there are some genuine concerns regarding it. But what they're trying to do is gather information and put together kind of an educated and organized defense against these standards. Not completely and totally, obviously, but there are some concerns, and I could just briefly tell you a few of them. There's some contradictions within the standards. There's some areas where they believe there's some separation. These were talking points of Harrisburg. Areas of issues with separation of church and state. Probably the biggest thing that I have seen on Facebook and heard from anybody is that the content standards, especially in the lower elementary, all the way up through probably middle elementary, is that they're not developmentally appropriate. What they're listing for standards is just, you look at it and go, really, for kindergartners? What I would say to that is that it's not all inclusive. Whatever is listed for things that could be a talking point to meet the standards, say in kindergarten or even third grade, doesn't mean you have to cover all of that. It means this is a long list of things that you could cover to meet that standard. And I think that's something we're overlooking as educators. It's, you know, I think they actually list, like, you're supposed to be able to give a summary of the impact that, influential people had on our country for U.S. history. And then they have 2 columns of people that could be listed, and I think most people are looking at it and say, what, we got to teach every single one of those? No, you don't. You can use 1 or 2 or 3 of those to meet that standard. So you're going to hear about this a lot. You're going to see a lot of it. Some of the criticism is how this whole process began and who's in charge of it. It's a gentleman from another state that's taught at a public or at a private college, university professor. There's some question about not his credibility, but his credibility with what we're trying to accomplish here maybe doesn't meet, because he's never worked in a public school and he's only worked at the college level. So there's lots of things that are going to come up with this. I plan to go to Aberdeen. I'll invite any of our staff members if they choose to go with, and maybe stand up and say something for or against, if they would like to. It's been suggested that we actually have parents, and so I looked at the camera and say, if there's any parents out there that are concerned with these standards or have something that they'd like to share in favor or against, you'd be welcome to go with us to the meeting in Aberdeen as well. One of the examples that Rob Munson, who is the executive director for School Administrators of South Dakota, has said, a lot of the things that have changed he's using this as an example, a lot of the things that have changed recently in laws regarding alternative education or homeschooling is because they'll be in a small room in Pierre for these hearings or these meetings, and there'll be 50 parents of homeschool parents that are there in their presence, and then it's Rob Munson from SASD and Wade Pogany from Associated School Boards and maybe 1 or 2 other people. It's 4 versus 50, and he said the power in numbers is unbelievable at the state legislative level. And so he said if you really truly want to get anything taken care of, any concerns taken care of, it's got to be power in numbers. So with that, we can move on or open it up to discussion or do whatever you wish to.
Is that finalized? Are those finalized, or are they still in the pro?
Yeah, we're still in the process of being able to give input, public input.
And when is that meeting?
I knew you would ask that. I have it on my calendar in my office. I didn't put it in my calendar in here. I haven't registered for me. I don't think we have to register, but I want to say it's Monday, a week from today, but I don't know that for sure. But,
So if there are people from the public that want to go,
yeah.
we can facilitate them or get them into the meeting?
Yes, and I should have had that date here tonight so that I could broadcast it tonight, but we can somehow get that out, maybe in a message via our calling system. So,
Have you seen the list of people who put those together?
yes.
Okay. I only say that because it seems to me like a lot of times when they're putting those standards together, it's a bunch of professionals, people at a very high level who actually aren't working with kids or don't work with kids at that age group. So it, you know, as a teacher, I was always kind of like, really? So
You're
if you
getting
want to,
force-fed from people that aren't in the trenches
Yeah.
with students anyway.
yeah.
So.
So if it's a concern, I, you know, as a parent, I wouldn't hesitate to become vocal.
More to come on that, we'll see what happens.
And wouldn't it be helpful if some parents went along to that, just to help get,
We're teachers, those people who are doing it.
Yes, I think absolutely would be
Yeah.
helpful, and
to get
again,
the real truth out there?
I believe that's what I have.
Okay,
Is that too long, Lori?
you did good. I only took 12 minutes, Dr. Block, so I'm on a roll tonight. Mr. Case?
This Thursday, we have our fifth graders. We're doing, Starbase reintroduced a trip down to Sioux Falls for the Sioux Falls Air Base. So we're gonna take the fifth graders down, and Starbase has a program for the kids to go on the air base. It just happened to work out that we were able to team up. I called Wabe, called Summit, so we're all gonna fit on one bus. They're gonna chip in a little bit for gas, so we're gonna fill up one of Cheyenne transportation bus and head on down. So it should be a good experience. I've never been there. Dr. Block has been there, so I kind of look forward to going on that trip with him. Preschool screening, we have the date signed up for September 27th. So we will get letters sent out to most of the parents. Unfortunately, we don't have a list of all the parents, so if a parent does not receive it, they can contact the office, and we will have something put in the paper also for preschool screening the 27th, which will happen all day. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up the 29th. We also have a book fair that will be going on. I think it's 2 days prior to that will start, but don't quote me on those dates. We will get information out to the public as to when those dates are and what times we will sell those books. We go through Scholastic Books on that. Also, the museum contacted us. They wanted to talk to the fourth grade teachers, and they have set up a wildlife program coming up the 23rd. So we'll just make a short little jaunt out to the museum for the fourth graders, and I'm not sure, it's a wildlife program, so something new that they're putting forth, and we'll go out and see what it's all about. That's all I have. I suppose you want to hear back on the recess out there, you know, has been greatly reduced. Kids seem to be fine. They're digging a lot in the sandbox and playing on the blacktop, so we haven't had any concerns with that. And I supervised one of the recesses also, and I think we only had one ball go over, and one of the workers, scale workers, got it and threw it back. So otherwise, recess has been pretty good.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Case? Thank you. NESC?
There is a district that's looking at possible membership into the cooperative. We don't have a lot of details on it, but right now the co-op is kind of questioning whether they can take on another district. You'll hear me just about every month talk about staffing whether or not they can fulfill things. So there's a delay in that process. They're going to investigate it, but right now I would say that it's probably going to go towards a no at this point, just because of staffing issues that they might face. They do have a complete staff at this point, as far as I know. We had a meeting last Wednesday, and at that point, all of the paras for their center bases, all of the paras and the service providers, OT, PT, speech, they've got enough of a staff to be able to take care of the services that they have. One of the things that I wanted to mention, and I think this is more than just an NESC thing, is the psych examiners. Right now, the state of South Dakota allows school psychologists to administer tests to determine whether children qualify for special ed as part of the process. And they also allow what's called a school examiner, or a psych examiner to do that. My personal opinion, I'm just going to cut to the chase on it, I think we're kind of seeing, there's been some concerns about psych examiners maybe doing some things that they weren't necessarily meant to do, and this is where my opinion comes in. Rather than fine-tune the responsibilities of what psych examiners can and can't do, I think the school psychologists of South Dakota have decided to take it upon themselves to make themselves above and beyond everybody else, and this is where my frustration comes in. In the future, school psych examiners right now, if you currently are a psych examiner, you can continue. You're grandfathered in, you can continue. If your career goes for another 10, 20 years, you can still continue. However, there will not be any new psych examiners allowed to do what the current ones do. I believe that's going to be a limit to our schools. I believe it's going to be a frustration and it's just going to cause issues with what we have for service providing in order to get kids tested. And it's just another one of those examples that you see where the folks that are kind of at the top of the psych exam or school psychologists have made it so that you have to meet these certain standards to be able to do this. And unfortunately, we live in a state with rural areas and low numbers of school psychologists. I think it's going to hurt the situation in the long run. Again, that's my opinion. If you had a school psychologist sitting here, they would probably stand up and shout all kinds of things that would justify their reasoning, but I kind of liken it to what we have to do for alternative certification for teachers. We're not in the situation where we've just got this plethora of people for services, and I think this is going in the wrong direction. So I'll get off my soapbox on that unless you guys have something else to say. That's been an interesting conversation at both the NEC level and the state level. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Block. Buildings and grounds.
We do have boiler repairs coming up. Lori, can you help me with what that quote was? Is it about 12,000? 10,000?
What? I
I don't know if she has that, but
10,000.
we had to get a quote, and this is due to repairs that were required for us to get the boiler certified. There's some stay bolts on the back side that were used, some that are actually fallen down on the bottom. There are a couple of tubes that need to be replaced, and then there's two pressure valves on top. One of the pressure valves was working properly, but leaking, and the other pressure valve wasn't even completely working. And both of those need to be functioning pressure valves in order for certification to occur on board. So we have a company out of Midwest Boilers out of Sioux Falls that can do it. They're certified to do this work. I have given them the go-ahead so that we can get that thing repaired and able to fire up. We do need that boiler for the steam heat in the 1950s wing. Regardless if they get the new boilers up and running or not, it's needed. So that's where we're at. It is my hope that this particular repair might be one of the last that we have to deal with. But we've kind of been saying that for a few years. So the boiler and CTE project itself, if you look outside, you can see that it's been mostly Webster scale, if not all Webster scale doing the work right now. significant amount of fill brought in and compacting, and we have one of our students taking some photos, so we'll hopefully have some progressive photos for you guys to see as it goes forward. I did have her actually taking, she did 2 photos the last 2 weeks from one of the windows in the new boiler room, kind of shooting towards the southwest. It's a great visual because it's high, but you couldn't go in there today because there was 7 or 8 guys in there putting in valves and boilers and everything else, so we're not sure how that photo is going to progress, but we're going to try to get in there when they're not in there so we can continue to take that photo as well. And then the retaining wall, originally we had kind of a concern about getting the retaining wall done in coordination with the fill, and for a few reasons. The footings might be exposed, the new water lines might be exposed, meaning exposed, they may not be deep enough without the fill with the new retaining wall. And so we're looking at that, but it really, at our last construction meeting, it was discussed that maybe the retaining wall could occur in the spring, mainly because it's a finished product, and if you have a finished retaining wall there, and there's still all kinds of construction that could happen, there's a chance that somebody else could run into it, or get too close to it or something like that. So right now, I do have a quote that we would like to accept, I believe that we could accept, and I've contacted that person regarding the quote as to whether we could lock in the numbers for the materials and supplies, and then have the work done in the spring, if that's what we choose to do, which I think will probably be determined maybe at our next construction meeting, or it has been determined, is to wait, and he's good with that. So that's where we're at with the retaining wall. Other than that, I don't have any other major items to mention, unless you two have something that you think should be brought up.
So we will just leave fill over the water line, over the foundation in the southeast corner of the high school to protect the water line and the footing.
To push some more up there.
Yep.
And when you say protecting, it's basically to have enough fill so that it's
Frost
frost line, it's being protected from the freezing cold.
So this retaining wall, is that something that wasn't expected before?
No, that was in there.
No, don't you remember, we separated it to save money. We went out and solicited our
Not the
own.
contractor. The landscaping,
Okay, that was one of the.
Yeah,
that was a value add.
The value engineering, we removed the retaining wall and all of the landscaping. Now, the landscaping, as I understand it, Joel, you might be able to tell me, I believe what we will have when it's a finished product for what we are going to be responsible for is there will be black dirt and it will be spread, but we're going to have to get the rock, we're going to have to get the retaining wall, we're going to have to get the seeding done. If there's any shrubs or anything like that, that's going to be our responsibility. So.
And the quote that you got came in, it was a good price, Larry,
Yeah,
correct?
I think so. The value engineering,
Considering the scope of this particular size wall, I think it's a fair price.
and the heating, they really didn't have any doubts that they would have it up and running. They were all confident.
Yeah, the new boiler.
The new boiler.
There was no, yeah, I don't think we got anybody to hesitate on that.
No.
They all said it'd be.
Okay, any other questions on buildings and grounds?
They were going to start pouring footings this week. Is that hopeful?
No, it's got to sit those 10
Okay.
days.
Next Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'll start digging footings next Monday. Just due to the amount of fill that was put in, the geotech people wanted to rest essentially for 10 days if there's any settlement. So we'll get it to finished grade. If I didn't look out here tonight, if it isn't tonight, it will be tomorrow, and then we're gonna leave for a week and come back and dig footings.
Anything else, buildings and grounds?
I don't believe so.
All right. Next meeting is Monday, October 10th. Sound good? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thanks, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.